Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep with Wild Stewart.
Oh, interesting
I
choice.
know, right? His work is, well, it's kind of all over the place, but in a good way. We're going to be looking at affirmations and infinite self.
Two very different vibes.
Definitely. But that's what makes this deep dive so fun. We're going to try to extract some hopefully practical takeaways, something you can actually use.
Love that.
So,
I'm all about actionable insights.
me too. So, Stewart, he talks a lot about this infinite self idea.
Yeah, that's like powerful, eternal energy.
Right. And he's saying it's within all of us.
Like everyone has this potential.
Okay, so how does he explain that? I mean, is it like a soul or?
It's a bit more, think of it like we're all connected to this universal energy source,
Ah, okay.
kind of like atoms in a molecule, he says.
Yeah.
And by tapping into a higher consciousness, we can like break free from limitations. The ones
Limitations?
our ego creates, yeah, and the ones society kind of like imposes on us.
They keep us stuck, you mean?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see where he's going with this. So we've got this infinite self, this huge potential, but how do we actually access it?
Well, he talks about these 33 steps.
Right, I was wondering about those. Are they like a literal step-by-step guide?
Not really a checklist, more like a continuous journey.
Right.
They're about evolving, refining your awareness and just kind of constantly unlocking more of that potential.
So it's more about the process of becoming than reaching some final destination.
Exact.
That makes sense. And Stewart's really big on the power of our beliefs.
Huge. He's like, what you believe shapes your reality.
But is it really that simple? Can just believing in something make it true?
He tells this story in Affirmations about dedicating his life to seeking wisdom and how that intention shaped his whole path. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Wow, okay, so even like subconscious beliefs can have a big impact.
Huge. Makes you wonder what we're carrying around that might be holding us back.
Yeah, totally. That leads to this your word is law concept, which is pretty out there, but also intriguing. So, like, our actions and words can literally shape reality.
It's about recognizing that creative power within us. But
Well,
he doesn't shy away from the challenges. Like
right.
our ego, it resists change.
Wants to stay comfy.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Even when it's not serving us anymore.
So how do we overcome that resistance?
Discipline, for one.
Yeah.
He suggests some specific practices like,
Hauling stones.
yeah, it might sound odd, but it's about strengthening that self-control. Proving to yourself you can make your word law.
Like putting in the work to back up your intentions.
Exactly.
So it's about proving it to yourself, not to anyone else.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Now, we all know life throws curveballs. How does Stewart suggest we handle, like, negativity, challenges, all that?
He says, instead of seeing them as setbacks, we should view them from the perspective of that infinite self, like
Opportunities.
for growth. He has this parable about a farmer. His horse runs away.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
And the farmer, he doesn't label it good or bad, just sees it as part of the bigger picture.
Something to learn from.
Exact.
It's almost like accepting that life's going to happen and we can either get swept away or learn to, like, ride the waves.
I like that, riding the waves.
Now, that parable kind of leads to an interesting point. His view on victims and aggressors. Is he connecting those two things?
It's more about every experience, even the tough ones, holds a lesson.
Yeah.
And that leads to his perspective on, well, yeah, victims and aggressors.
Okay, this should be good.
He suggests, like, in a cosmic sense, they're connected.
Connected. How so?
Well, he's not condoning harmful actions, but it's about understanding that bigger picture.
Okay.
And he cautions against holding on to guilt.
Because.
It can be destructive, right? It's about learning and moving forward.
So shifting our perspective, seeing things from a higher level.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, so we've got this powerful energy within, the importance of belief, learning from challenges. But how do we actually use all this in our lives? He does offer techniques for growth, right?
He does. And some are, well, they're pretty out there.
That's what I've heard. What are some that, like, we could actually try? More practical stuff.
He talks a lot about expanding our awareness, like really engaging with the world through our feelings.
Oh, he has that challenge, right? Asking the universe to show you something new within 24 hours.
Exactly. It's about opening yourself up to new possibilities, seeing the magic in everyday life.
I like that.
And then there's this whole idea of silence and non-action, which sounds kind of counterintuitive.
Right. When we're talking about personal growth, you'd think it'd be the opposite.
He even draws from Wu Wei, that Taoist concept.
Okay, now what exactly is that and how can we, like, apply it?
Think of it less about being passive and more about aligning yourself with the natural flow of life.
So not forcing things.
Sometimes pushing too hard can actually repel what you want. He uses this great anecdote about a car salesman.
Oh, I think I know the one you mean.
Yeah. Showing how being too forceful can create resistance.
It's about finding that balance then, right? Knowing when to act and when to kind of let things unfold.
Exactly. It's a delicate dance.
Okay, we're starting to get a better grasp of how these ideas can actually translate into, like, real life. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about, well, inner peace and strength. How does Stewart suggest we cultivate those qualities?
He's all about rituals and creating a sacred space in your life.
A physical space or more like a mental state?
Both, actually. It's about having that sanctuary where you can connect with yourself, reflect, renew.
Daily gratitude, right. He emphasizes that a lot.
Big time. Appreciating the beauty and wonder of life.
Makes sense. And of course, he's a huge nature lover.
Oh, yeah. Encourages people to connect with the natural world.
But there's one thing he's not a fan of: gurus. He's all about becoming our own source of wisdom. Why is that so important to him?
It's this key theme in his work. Self-reliance, trusting your inner compass. He's not saying reject all guidance, but
But cultivate that connection with your own wisdom.
exactly. He believes we each hold the keys to our own, liberation.
It's about empowering ourselves, becoming our own gurus, in a sense.
I love that. Our own gurus.
Okay, now there's this concept in affirmations I'm really curious about. The quickening. It sounds pretty intense, almost mystical.
It is. Imagine this surge of energy, a cosmic boost.
Okay, that sounds intense.
It propels you forward on your path. Think of it as the universe saying, hey, you're ready for the next level.
Like a power-up.
Kinda. It gives you the courage to break through plateaus and reach for what he calls the quintessence of your evolution.
Okay, so quickening helps us reach the quintessence. Now, those are some big words. What does he mean by quintessence, and how does this quickening actually feel?
So he discovered this energy during his trance meditations and was even guided to a specific location in the U.S. where this power was super strong. He describes quintessence as the purest, most refined form of something.
The ultimate goal, you mean?
Exactly, the ultimate goal of our spiritual evolution. As for how it feels, he doesn't go into detail, but emphasizes it's temporary.
Limited time offer.
Right. So he's like, take advantage of it while you can.
Okay, so it's like this limited time power-up. That's pretty cool. But here's a question that's been bugging me. If we're all capable of this, accessing the infinite self, tapping into the quickening, why are so many people stuck in negativity and limitation? What's holding them back, according to Stewart?
He points to societal programming, fear, lack of awareness.
Like they don't even know about this power.
Many don't. Or they're too afraid to break free from their comfort zones.
So it's about waking up to our own potential and having the courage to claim it?
Yeah, he doesn't sugarcoat it.
And speaking of not sugarcoating things, Stewart really gets into some heavy stuff about, power structures, the financial system, all that. What's his take on it?
He's pretty outspoken. In Affirmations, he talks about how certain families control the world's banking system, using governments to pass laws that benefit them.
That's a bold statement.
He suggests people are often led to believe they're powerless to change these systems, which,
It can feel that way sometimes.
right. But he does offer some hope.
Oh, good. I was wondering about that.
He argues these systems are ultimately unsustainable. Their own greed will lead to their downfall.
So it'll kind of implode on itself.
That's the idea. And he encourages people to focus on personal growth and just wait patiently for these systems to crumble.
It's like he's saying, work on yourself, and when the dust settles, the good guys win.
Yeah, he believes the intuitive, loving, caring people will inherit the earth.
I like that. So focus on what you can control, your inner world, and trust that external reality will eventually reflect that change.
It's a powerful concept.
We've covered a lot here. Infinite self, belief, practical techniques, challenging norms, discipline. What stands out to you as the most valuable takeaway from Stewart so far?
His emphasis on personal responsibility, it's huge for me. We're not just passive bystanders, we're actually creating our reality.
That's so empowering. And he gives us actual tools, not just vague spiritual advice.
I know, right? It's stuff we can all do, like expanding our awareness, being disciplined, embracing the journey.
It's accessible no matter your background.
Exactly. And it's ongoing. It's not like reaching some perfect state of enlightenment or whatever.
It's more about constantly refining, expanding.
Yeah, like a lifelong journey of purification, shedding those limiting beliefs.
Becoming who we're meant to be, I guess.
Totally.
So let's get into those practical techniques a bit more. You mentioned expanding our awareness. How do we actually do that?
Remember that challenge from Stewart? Asking the universe to show you something new within 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, that one.
It sounds simple, but it shifts your perspective. You start noticing things you might have missed before.
It's about being present, paying attention to the little things.
Exactly. And he also talks about engaging with the world through feeling, like really experiencing it.
Not just thinking, but feeling it too.
Yes. Get out of your head and into your body.
Makes sense. Okay, discipline. Stewart's big on this, even suggesting like hauling stones, which is, I know, it's a little out there. But why is discipline so crucial on this path?
Remember, he talks about the ego's resistance to change. Discipline is about strengthening willpower, proving you can make your word law.
Taking action even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it builds self-trust,
So not about punishment, but about building inner strength.
showing yourself you're capable of more.
Which ties back to your word as law, right? If you can discipline yourself in small things, you can manifest bigger things.
It's like building that trust with yourself, showing you can follow through.
Makes sense. Now, Stewart talks a lot about connecting with nature. Why is that so important in his teachings?
He sees it as a source of serenity, strength, a place to reconnect with your true self.
So it's more than just getting fresh air.
Oh yeah, it's about immersing yourself in the rhythms of nature, finding peace and clarity.
Remembering we're part of something bigger.
Exactly. Especially in a world with so much technology, distractions, that connection becomes even more vital.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the infinite self again. We've touched on it, but can we go a little deeper? How does recognizing this change the way we see ourselves and the world?
Think back to that analogy, atoms in a molecule. Recognizing your infinite self means you're not just this isolated individual, you're part of this vast interconnected web.
So it's about expanding our sense of self.
Exactly. It's about realizing we're all part of this universal energy field, and what we do affects everything around us.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is.
Now, Stewart also talks about this idea of purification. What does he mean by that?
He sees it as shedding limiting beliefs, negative patterns, anything holding us back.
So clearing out the clutter, mentally and emotionally.
You're like refining gold, removing the impurities to reveal its brilliance.
It's an ongoing process, right?
Always. Yeah, it takes honesty, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront those darker parts of ourselves.
The stuff we might want to ignore.
Exactly.
Not always easy facing those shadows.
Definitely not. But it's essential for real growth.
Now, Stewart has some interesting views on societal norms, power structures. He seems to encourage questioning the status quo. Why is that so important to him?
He believes a lot of those structures, especially around finance and power, are designed to keep people trapped in a cycle of limitation dependence. He encourages people to think for themselves, to question authority.
To break free from that programming that makes them feel powerless.
Exactly.
So it's about reclaiming your sovereignty, both internally and externally.
Yeah, recognizing you have the power to choose your own path.
But how do we balance that with the need for connection, community? Is he saying we should isolate ourselves?
Not necessarily. It's more about engaging with society consciously, critically.
Right.
Finding your tribe, people who support your growth.
Finding that balance between individual empowerment and collective responsibility.
It's a delicate dance, but a crucial one.
We're all in this together, but we each have our own part to play. Okay, we've talked a lot about the theoretical side of Stewart's work. Can we get into some more practical advice? What can listeners do, starting today, to apply these principles?
One simple practice. Cultivate daily gratitude. Take time to appreciate the good things, no matter how small.
So even just keeping a gratitude journal.
Exactly. It shifts your focus to the positive.
Okay, what about when we're feeling stuck, overwhelmed? Any tools for those moments?
Remember Wu Wei, aligning with the natural flow. When you're stuck, sometimes it's better to step back, focus on inner peace.
Surrendering to the present moment.
Yes. Meditation, nature, even just a break from your routine can help.
Finding that space to breathe, reconnect with your inner wisdom. Now, we talked about the quickening earlier, that surge of energy. Is there anything we can do to invite that in, or is it more spontaneous?
He doesn't give specific instructions. He suggests it's a natural part of our evolution. It comes when we're ready.
But we can create the conditions for it?
Yeah, by cultivating inner stillness, being receptive.
Being open to the possibilities.
And remembering, he says it's temporary, so...
Make the most of it.
Right.
Okay, we've talked about questioning societal norms, power structures, but how do we do that without getting cynical, disillusioned?
Stewart reminds us that even when things seem bleak, there's this deeper current of love, positive energy at work.
So focus on our own growth, trust that the world will reflect that change.
Hold on to that vision of a better world.
We're nearing the end of our deep dive into Wild Stewart's work. As we wrap up, what are some final thoughts, key takeaways for our listeners?
It really comes back to that core idea. We have this incredible power within us.
The infinite self.
Yeah. And Stewart gives us this framework, the tools, the practices to actually tap into it.
It's not a quick fix, though,
No, it's a journey for sure.
but a journey worth taking.
Absolutely.
About remembering we're not just victims, we're creators.
We have choices, we have power.
To create a life that aligns with our highest potential.
Mm.
But it takes work, commitment.
And stepping outside those comfort zones?
Exactly. Which is where discipline comes in.
Right. Building that inner strength, the resilience.
Showing up for yourself day after day, making choices that support your growth.
It all adds up.
So we've covered so much: belief, nature, all of it. If you could distill it down to one message, what's the most important thing for listeners to remember?
You are so much more powerful than you realize.
That's a good one.
You have the potential to create a life of joy, abundance, meaning. But it starts with believing in yourself and taking action.
Unlocking that infinite self.
Exactly.
And remembering you're not alone on this journey.
There's support everywhere if you're open to it.
So, as we wrap up, one last thought from Stewart. If external reality truly is a reflection of our inner world, what aspects of your reality are you ready to transform?
That's a great question to leave everyone with.
I know, right? It's something to really ponder. We've only scratched the surface of Stewart's work here, but hopefully you've gained some valuable insights for your own journey. If you're ready to dive deeper, infinite self or affirmations, those are great places to start.
They're packed with wisdom and practical advice.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.
And until next time.
Remember, you hold the power to unlock your own infinite self. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.